In 1994, a winter wedding party vanished from a Colorado ski resort. 25 years later, melting ice revealed their bodies, perfectly preserved, still in their wedding clothes, but forensic tests showed they'd died only 2 days earlier. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we begin this chilling story of a wedding that never ended, and a mystery that defies time itself, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. Now, let's travel back to December 1994 to a celebration that became a nightmare. December 17th, 1994, Snowpeak Lodge, Colorado. The wedding of Lena Mitchell and Ethan Cole was everything a winter celebration should be. The luxury ski resort's grand ballroom glowed with candlelight. Evergreen garlands wrapped the columns, and fresh snow fell gently outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. Lena, 28, wore a stunning white gown with long sleeves, perfect for the mountain cold. Ethan, 30, looked sharp in his tuxedo, his smile never fading as he danced with his new bride. The guest list was intimate, just 8 people. Marcus and Clara Torres, Lena's parents Aaron Wu, Ethan's father, his mother had passed years before, Father Elias Ward, 62, who'd officiated the ceremony, Agent Miriam Cross, Lena's maid of honor and childhood friend, and FBI agent Noah Grant, Ethan's best man and business partner Sophie and Michael Grant, Noah's wife and the couple's closest friends. At 9:47 p.m., the group gathered for a toast on the resort's outdoor terrace. The champagne was poured. Ethan raised his glass. Security cameras captured him mid-speech, his breath visible in the cold mountain air, everyone laughing. Then Ethan pointed toward the ski lifts. "One last run," he called out, "under the stars as husband and wife." The group cheered. They left their champagne glasses on the terrace table, still full, still fizzing, and walked toward the ski lift area, carrying sparklers that left golden trails in the darkness. At 9:53 p.m., security footage showed all 10 people entering the ski lift loading zone. The last frame before the blackout showed something strange, a flicker of light near the tree line, like a reflection or a portal opening for a fraction of a second. The image distorted, pixels scrambling. At 9:54 p.m., the camera cut to black. They were never seen alive again. By midnight, resort staff noticed the abandoned champagne glasses, the sparklers burnt out in the snow. The wedding party hadn't returned. Ski patrol was dispatched immediately. They found the lift running but empty. No one in the chairs, no one at the top station. Fresh tracks in the snow led from the terrace toward the lift, then simply stopped, as if 10 people had been plucked from the earth. By dawn, a full-scale search operation was underway. Snowpeak Lodge was a massive resort sprawling across 3,000 acres of mountain terrain. Search teams combed every run, every trail, every back bowl. They found nothing. No bodies, no clothing, no equipment, no signs of an avalanche or accident. The investigation revealed disturbing details. All 10 people's belongings were still in their resort rooms. Lena's wedding rings were in her suite. She'd removed them before the ski run. The ski lift operator swore he saw the group approach but never board. No ski equipment had been rented or taken from the lodge. One witness, a resort guest named Patricia Voss, reported seeing a group in formal clothes walking toward the North Ridge Trail, not the ski lift. But the North Ridge Trail was closed for the season, roped off and marked dangerous. Another detail emerged from the kitchen staff. One dishwasher swore he saw a man in a park ranger uniform inside the service corridor around 9:30 p.m., hours after all staff had left for the night. He thought it was strange but didn't report it until after the disappearance. Search teams explored the North Ridge. They found nothing. By December 30th, the search was scaled back. The official theory: the group had wandered off-trail in the dark, possibly intoxicated, and fallen into a crevasse or been buried by a localized avalanche in an unmapped area. The case went cold. Families held memorial services. The wedding became a ghost story whispered among ski resort employees. For 25 years, the mystery remained unsolved. June 2019, the Colorado Rockies. Climate change had been ravaging alpine glaciers for decades. The Snowpeak Glacier, 3 miles north of the resort on a remote ridge, had been receding at an alarming rate, losing 40 feet of ice per year. Dr. Alan Reeves, a glaciologist from the University of Colorado, was documenting the melt when his drone captured something unusual: dark shapes embedded in the exposed ice face, roughly 60 feet up the glacier wall. He hiked closer with his team. As they approached, the glacier groaned, a deep, ancient sound. A slab of ice cracked open with a sharp report, revealing what looked like fabric beneath the translucent layer. White fabric, moving slightly in the wind, as if breathing beneath the ice. Dr. Reeves felt his blood run cold. 10 human figures, frozen in ice, perfectly preserved. They were wearing formal attire, a wedding dress, a tuxedo, evening gowns. The Snowpeak wedding party had been found. The recovery operation took 3 days. Specialists used heated tools to carefully extract the bodies from the ice. The preservation was extraordinary. Facial features intact, clothing undamaged, skin showing almost no decomposition. They were positioned strangely, arranged in a near-perfect circle, each facing outward as if protecting something in the center, a patch of untouched snow that had somehow remained pristine despite being encased in ice for what should have been decades. Their faces showed expressions of fear and confusion, frozen in their final moments. Dr. Nina Ortiz, the lead forensic pathologist, began the autopsies immediately. The findings were standard at first: cause of death, hypothermia, no signs of trauma or violence, evidence of severe frostbite on extremities. Stomach contents suggested they'd eaten dinner hours before death. Then came the impossible results. The tissue samples, analyzed through radiocarbon dating and cellular degradation analysis, indicated time of death 48 to 72 hours before discovery. Not 25 years, 48 hours. Dr. Ortiz ran the tests again. Same result. A third lab confirmed it. But there was more. The isotopic oxygen ratio in their blood matched modern atmospheric composition, not 1994 levels, and microscopic fibers found in their lungs came from materials produced after 2010. Specifically, microplastics from synthetic fabrics that didn't exist in the 1990s. The bodies had been frozen solid for what appeared to be decades, based on the glacier's position, yet every biological and chemical marker showed they'd died in June 2019, just days before being found. One more detail unsettled the investigators. Lena's wristwatch had stopped at exactly 9:57 p.m. The internal mechanism showed no signs of corrosion or water damage, as if it had only paused for seconds, not been buried in ice for 25 years. The FBI reopened the case as a potential homicide. Special Agent Rachel Delgado, now retired but called back due to her connection to Agent Miriam Cross, took the lead. The science was undeniable but unexplainable. These people had vanished in 1994 and died in 2019, somehow preserved for 25 years before their final moments. The investigation focused on understanding the impossible timeline. Delgado's team analyzed the glacier's ice core samples. The layering showed consistent annual deposition until 2016, then an unexplained discontinuity, as if 3 years of ice accumulation were simply missing from the geological record. The investigation revealed more strange details about their clothing. Forensic analysis found microscopic mineral grains embedded in the fabric, a geological fingerprint that matched a specific type of granite found only in one remote ridge in the Himalayas, near the Rongbuk Glacier in Tibet. How had Colorado wedding guests gotten Himalayan dust on their 1994 formal wear? Delgado obtained the original 1994 security footage, now digitized. She had it analyzed with modern AI enhancement software that hadn't existed 25 years ago. The enhanced footage revealed something the original investigators had missed. In the background, barely visible in the darkness beyond the terrace, stood a figure in a dark ranger uniform. He appeared to be gesturing toward the north ridge. The flicker of light captured just before the camera cut out seemed to originate from near where he stood. There had never been a park ranger at the resort that night. Agent Delgado interviewed everyone connected to the original case. Most were elderly now or deceased. Patricia Voss, the witness who'd seen them walk toward the North Ridge, was found in a nursing home. "I told them," she said, her memory still sharp. "They weren't going to the ski lift. They were following someone, a man in a park ranger uniform. He was leading them up the North Ridge Trail." Delgado then focused on Father Elias Ward. His archived belongings, stored in a church basement in Denver, contained something extraordinary: a leather journal filled with dense handwriting. Father Ward, it turned out, hadn't always been a priest. In the 1960s and 70s, he'd been a geologist, exploring remote mountain regions around the world. His journal documented years of obsessive research into temporal anomalies, places where time seemed to move differently. One entry from 1978, written after a solo expedition to Tibet, read, "The monks spoke of valleys where pilgrims enter and emerge days later. Believing only minutes have passed, they call them pools in the river of time. I dismissed it as legend until I found the cave near Rongbuk. The air inside felt thick, resistant, as if pushing through invisible water. My watch stopped. When I emerged, hours later by my perception, 3 days had passed outside. I sealed the entrance. Some doors should never be opened, but there were more recent entries." In 1992, Father Ward had discovered something in Colorado, a cave system on the north ridge of Snowpeak, hidden behind a frozen waterfall. His notes described the same sensation: thick air, watches stopping, a feeling of being outside the current. He'd mapped it carefully, noting the entrance coordinates, the chamber dimensions, the strange magnetic readings. His final entry, dated December 16, 1994, one day before the wedding, read, "Tomorrow I marry Lena and Ethan. They asked me tonight at the rehearsal dinner about my travels, my stories of impossible places. I told them about the cave. I shouldn't have. They want to see it. Young people, drunk on champagne and love, think they're immortal. Time is a river, but there are pools where it stops. They want to swim in it. May God forgive me for what I'm about to do." Armed with Father Ward's coordinates, Delgado organized an expedition to the North Ridge in September 2019. The frozen waterfall had melted significantly due to climate change, revealing the cave entrance Ward had described. The cave was exactly where his journal said it would be. The entrance was narrow, requiring the team to crawl through a tunnel of ice and rock. After 50 feet, the passage opened into a chamber roughly 30 feet in diameter. The air inside felt different, thicker, somehow resistant to movement. Electronic equipment malfunctioned immediately. Watches stopped. Digital cameras glitched. Delgado's team documented everything they could with analog equipment. The chamber walls showed signs of human presence: scratches in the rock, as if someone had tried to carve messages, scraps of formal fabric, matching the 1994 wedding attire, were frozen into the ice on the floor. A geologist on the team measured anomalous magnetic fields, far stronger than anything naturally occurring. "It's like the rock itself is charged," he said. "I've never seen anything like this." They didn't stay long. After 20 minutes inside, though it felt like only 5, the team exited the cave. When they checked their equipment outside, they discovered their body cameras had recorded for 47 minutes. Time had moved differently inside the chamber. The cave was immediately sealed by federal authorities, marked only by warning signs and a small memorial plaque. Based on Father Ward's journal, the security footage, witness statements, and forensic evidence, investigators reconstructed what likely happened. On the night of December 17, 1994, Father Elias Ward, burdened by guilt and perhaps suffering from early dementia, led the 10 wedding guests up the closed North Ridge Trail. He told them about the cave, about the stories of time standing still, about the impossible place he'd discovered. The group, intoxicated by champagne and the magic of the wedding night, followed him willingly. They entered the cave chamber around 10 p.m. For them, only minutes seemed to pass. They explored the chamber, marveled at the strange sensations, laughed at their watches stopping. They probably felt cold and decided to leave. But when they emerged from the cave, it wasn't December 17, 1994 anymore. It was June 2019. Disoriented and terrified, they found a world transformed. The resort was gone, replaced by new construction. The trees had grown. Everything was different. Their watches still read 10:07 p.m. on December 17, 1994. Unable to comprehend what had happened, they tried to make it back down the mountain. But it was a June night at high altitude, cold, dark, and they were still in their wedding clothes. Within hours, hypothermia set in. They huddled together in a circle, trying to protect each other, probably still believing this was some terrible dream. They died together, 48 hours after emerging from the cave, their bodies quickly frozen by a sudden cold snap. Days later, the melting glacier revealed them. The families held a second funeral in October 2019. Marcus and Clara Torres, now in their 80s, finally had closure. Aaron Wu had passed away years before, never knowing his son's fate. Agent Miriam Cross's family received her FBI badge, recovered from her frozen body, still clipped to the evening gown she'd worn to celebrate her best friend's wedding. The cave chamber on the North Ridge remains sealed. Scientists studied it extensively, but found no conventional explanation for the temporal distortion effect. The site is now off limits, monitored by motion sensors and warning systems. A memorial stands at Snowpeak Lodge in memory of the Snowpeak wedding party. December 17, 1994. June 2019. Lost in time, found in ice, Lena and Ethan Cole and 8 beloved guests. The case remains officially classified as death by exposure under anomalous temporal circumstances. 3 months after the cave was sealed, the monitoring system recorded something unusual. At 3:47 a.m. on a winter morning, motion sensors inside the sealed entrance detected movement. Temperature readings showed 10 brief thermal signatures, human-sized heat spots appearing for exactly 14 seconds before vanishing. The federal team investigating the alert found nothing. The seals were intact, no signs of intrusion. But when they reviewed the timestamp, they noticed something that made their blood run cold. 3:47 a.m., the exact time down to the minute when the wedding party would have been entering the cave 25 years earlier, if you adjusted for time zone changes made in Colorado over the decades. The cave was resealed with additional concrete barriers. Last month, a rescue drone mapping the ridge for avalanche prevention recorded another brief thermal signature inside the closed cave. 10 faint heat spots that appeared for exactly 14 seconds, then vanished. The monitoring team marked it as a sensor malfunction. But deep in the classified files, a note was added to the case record. Temporal loop suspected. Recommend permanent surveillance. They may still be in there, live in those same moments over and over, unaware that outside their prison of frozen time, the world has moved on without them. The Snowpeak wedding party proved that the world holds mysteries science cannot yet explain, and that some celebrations become eternal in ways we never imagined. Some pools in the river of time have no exit. The end.